Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Neil Howard, here on Health Professional Radio. Glad that you could join us again. Going to have a conversation in this segment with Mr. Rich Purcell. He's Senior Vice President of Research and Drug Development at Generex, and he's joining us on the program to talk about some areas of healthcare where strategic improvements can make a significant impact. Welcome to the program, Mr. Purcell. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, Neil. Thanks a lot. Call me Rich, please. Welcome.
Right, Rich.
Glad to be here.
Most of our listeners are healthcare professionals. If you would give us a brief background, what is your specialty, your area of expertise as far as healthcare is concerned?
Sure. I'm the Executive Vice President of R&D for Generex Biotechnology. We're historically a drug development company, but since we took the company over at the beginning of January 2017 with a new management team, we've been focusing on reorganizing Generex around a new concept for the delivery of healthcare to provide an end-to-end solution that solidifies the doctor-patient relationship. And happy to talk to you about that today and what we're doing.
Now, you say to solidify this doctor-patient relationship. Give me an area of this relationship that needs significant improvement.
Sure, I'm happy to. Today, big health systems, big insurance companies and executives and the executive suite have been driving healthcare over the last decade or so. And it's our belief that the doctor-patient relationship has been broken because of the complexity of care that's required for multiple providers, a number of ancillary services, lots of labs, lots of imaging, and there's very little coordination of effort. And there's no communication because electronic medical records and systems don't talk to one another. So there's discord in care, there's bad handoffs, and patients get left by the wayside oftentimes. And so in our new models of healthcare, we're partnering with specialist physicians to provide care for the most complex and expensive patients. And we focus our models in two areas of high-value, complex patients and expensive care that we want to address the gaps in the marketplace with. So we focus on orthopedic surgery, where arthritis and diabetes have driven a lot of surgery and orthopedic surgery, and then diabetes itself. And we're working with specialists in endocrinology to establish MSOs in both orthopedics and in endocrinology to take care of these complex patient populations.
Now, when we're talking about these complex patient populations, and you say the more expensive patients, so I guess the more severe developments due to the diabetes, the orthopedic surgery situations, are we talking basically just high-end doctor-patient relationships, or?
No, the idea of concierge care has hit the market for people with lots of money to pay for concierge care for the physicians. But our concept is concierge care for all by focusing on health maintenance for these complex diabetes patients, for example. So let me give you an example about what we're doing in diabetes. Working with an endocrinology practice, a large endocrinology practice, and a large primary care practice who already refer patients back and forth together. We've got a large population of patients that we work with that have diabetes. And we're setting this MSO. MSO is a management services organization where we coordinate the business and ancillary care of these patients on behalf of the doctors. So the doctors who are specialists really know how to take care of complex diabetes patients, because if you have diabetes and you're 65 and Medicare, you typically have cardiovascular problems as well. There might be obesity associated with it. You could have asthma and other complications that are caused by diabetes, and pain is another one as well. If you have a diabetic foot ulcer, which is a big complication associated with diabetes, these ulcers can cause significant morbidity and mortality and cause hospitalizations, which are very expensive. Our entire focus is to avoid hospitalizations whenever possible and to focus on patient health and the maintenance of that patient's health so they don't get severe, so they don't end up in the hospital, and we can maintain those patients in daily living comfortable because we're interacting with them in a new model focused on health maintenance. So if you look at the original meeting of the HMO, which has gotten a bad name, the original meeting is the Health Maintenance Organization, and maintenance of health is the key. HMO's got a bad name in the 90s when the gatekeeper function by primary care was put in place to keep people away from care. And our model is turned around because we're partnered with the specialists to make sure that the patients get the appropriate care. And the specialists and the primary care doctors actually work together collaboratively. And then we provide the ancillary services, ophthalmology. Everyone should get an eye exam every year. Podiatry. Everyone should get a foot exam every year. Neuropathy and neurology. We are providing neuropathic pain management. And then labs, pharmacy, and other ancillary services where we manage all of the billing and business section, insurance adjudication of those patients. And we're establishing these relationships with populations of patients and teams of multi-specialty doctors to manage these complex patients in a collaborative way.
Now, how much of this collaboration involves an infrastructure that actually allows the electronic medical records to speak with other systems in some cases?
That's a great question.
It seems as though it's a workaround on this existing problem. Is that the case?
That's a great question, Neil. What we're doing is putting our services under one roof. And making it convenient for patients to access these services. That's number one. So we're setting up ophthalmology and podiatry and neurology clinics within the endocrinology centers that we're setting up. So the patient doesn't have to go to 10 different places to get the care they need. They go to one place, integrated care. And then secondly, all of the doctors that we're working with are working on a single EMR system. So we are sharing data across with HIPAA compliant in a HIPAA compliant fashion. We're sharing records across, so all the doctors within the system know what's going on with the patient, not only in their office, but in the other offices where the patients may be receiving treatment or care.
Now, also, what about this, the problem of misdiagnoses? I mean, are we talking faster, more efficient diagnoses at the outset of patient care, thereby facilitating better outcomes?
Screening patients for diabetes, happens early in life, right? And as people are going to the primary care doctors, typically you're getting a blood test on an annual basis. We're making sure that the primary care doctors are giving those annual tests to make sure that patients are receiving the appropriate care. If somebody is identified as having diabetes, and a number of, let you know that a lot of the patients that we're dealing with complex diabetes are type 1 diabetic patients who are insulin dependent, and they're diagnosed as children typically. And we're dealing with an adult population largely here. So we know they're diagnosed. What we want to do is avoid any serious complications and making sure that we don't get to diabetic blindness, diabetic retinopathy, for example. So we're screening for complications before they happen in a disease, diabetes, that we know what those complications are and we know how to prevent them if we screen for them.
Rich, where can we go and get some more information online about NuGenerex and the developments that you've got going on there?
If you go to Generex.com, you'll see Generex has been a public biotechnology company for 23 years. And this is one of the challenges that we face as a development biotech company. In 2 phase 3 programs that didn't come out the way the company wanted to, not because the drugs didn't work, but because the protocols weren't designed appropriately. And once those trials did not come out positively, the company was unable to raise additional capital and went dormant. And that's when the new management team came in. And we've worked with Generex in the past. We know the products, services. Joe Moscato is the CEO. He's been with the company since 2009, and he's been the driving force behind our transformation as a an integrated healthcare and life science holding company that generates revenues on the healthcare side and then generates value on the drug development side to drive the value in the stock. And our MSO doctors and the new models of MSO that we're putting in place with the orthopedics, for example, it's a partnership model where our orthopedic surgeons are Generex shareholders. We've eliminated the cash payments that were typically done by private, non-public MSOs, where there's cash distribution of profits, and that we believe skirts the line of the Stark laws. So therefore, we've transformed the MSO model to integrate a public company strategy that makes us unique. So if you go to Generex.com and see our press releases, we've announced a lot of the strategy that we're taking forward into the market.
Rich, thank you so much for joining us here on the program this morning. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, thanks very much, Neil. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.